Hello you, welcome back to Geekism. You join me in Planet Coaster. We're continuing with our Let's Build series. We're carrying on with the two Whirly gigs that are down at the front of the pirate area. Asked you guys in the last episode to come up with a name for these. Had a fantastic suggestion. Unfortunately, I haven't got it open who it was, but the suggestion was Flotsam and Jetsam, which I thought was perfect. So that very much sort of dictated the style of the build that we do. You'll see me there, that was just Googling how to spell Jetsam. So we figured it out in the end. So this build is all about Flotsam and Jetsam, which, if you don't know, is terms for stuff found in sea. So stuff that washes up on shore, it's stuff that's at the bottom of the ocean. It's all Flotsam and Jetsam. I believe that one is purposefully thrown out and one is lost in shipwrecks and things like that, but don't quote me on that. I couldn't tell you which one was which, but I think Flotsam is when it's thrown overside to save on buoyancy or something, and Jetsam is when it's Jetsam is when it's jettisoned, I believe, and then Flotsam is when it's just sort of thrown out if the ship crashes. I don't know. It's two cool words, all right, Flotsam and Jetsam, and that sort of links together them quite nicely. So again, it's all about sort of bits of wood and crap, and you can see there we've used actually some of the fairy tale pieces as well. I'm just looking through different options here of what we can try and use some of the other pieces that we've not used much at the moment. The other big thing that I wanted to do with these were to tie them in to the rest of the pirate area, even though they're on the outside of the pirate area, which is just something I wanted to do as something a bit different. Even though they're on the outside of the pirate area, I wanted to really tie them in, and the new sort of 1.2 no collision rule, or no collision, what's the word I'm trying to think of? No collision thing toggle that you can turn on and off really does play a huge part in how we go about decorating these buildings, and you'll see in a minute what we end up doing. In fact, you'll see it just about now. First thing I really wanted to do was to tone them down a bit. I know they're kiddie rides, and we're not getting away from that, but I just wanted to tone them down a little bit so we subdue the colours a little, and I really wanted to get rid of those huge blue waves at the back, which is something we can now do with 1.2 because we've got no collision. We can build stuff all over the rides. Before, you couldn't go anywhere near that big sort of circle on the ground. 1.2 really has opened the game up, like completely opened the game up. I watched videos from a lot of other detailers who are many, many times better than me. People like Silverette, Rudy Renkamel, Delay Designer, they've all saying how great the no collision thing is. It really does open the game up. So I'm trying my best to use that, and really sort of spend a bit of time with my builds now, and sort of taking a bit of care over them and going a little bit of an extra mile with them for you guys, because I know that you appreciate the time spent on these. And I don't know, sometimes if I'm playing and I'm not quite in the mood, I could just throw some stuff down, and I know there's parts of the log flume that I'm not quite happy with because I feel like I've just kind of filled the space, and something I really wanted to get away from here was that idea, and I really wanted to sort of go back and spend a lot of time on this. And really sort of make it look part of the bigger park and really spend a lot of time on the detail of it. So this video is mostly the foundations of another video that we're going to be doing where we complete this area, but we finish off this nicely, so we've got a nice thumbnail. Flotsam and Jetsam end up being finished, but they are now such a small part of a much larger area of the park that you'll see now. We're using lots of different wall pieces, lots of separate buildings to give a lot of shape and have this wall go all the way around, and this wall then ends up going under the train track and attaching to the train station on one side, and right round to the park the pirate area entrance on the other side, and it's all just a way of tying the area in completely and really making it fit together nicely. Somebody jokes in the Discord server the other day that they don't believe that I make this up as I go along, because it all ends up looking really nicely put together. At the end, it all looks like it was meant to go that way. It is made up as I go along, but I will always, when I come to build something, sit back, look at what's already there. And this is a key. This is a certain point that you want to try and use in your own builds as well. I look at what's already there and think, how can I tie in what I'm building here into this part? So, you know, we did it very much with the go-karts. There was a huge just like space in the middle, but we'd already got a nice bit of decoration at the back of the pirate ship that we've used in the go-karts. We've managed to pull it round so it interacts quite nicely with the path at the front where the shark is, and it's just a case of just sort of tying it all in here. I knew I wanted to get the train track over the path here because I don't want the train going into the sci-fi area, which is one idea I do have in my head. So I knew I had to get the train track over the path here. I've got a wall there. You'll notice, sorry, there was a skip there. For some reason, some of the footage didn't record. It's literally just me placing a long wall down there. You've not really missed much, unfortunately, but so apologies for that. But we've got that long wall there. There was no reason why we couldn't have this wall coming out. It gives us a nice big archway. Ties the pirate area in nicely with the path there, and overall, it all just sort of comes together. But it's not planned at all. There's no method to this madness. It all just sort of comes together, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, there are certain things. If I could go back and start the area again, I would maybe make the weenie for the log flume a little bit bigger, because now we sort of built in front of it. It's actually not as big as I first thought. There's a few other bits I would maybe do a little bit. I'd probably bring the whole thing away from the edge of the map a little bit, so we had a bit more room to play with our RMC coasters that we're going to be putting in later on. But overall, I'm quite happy with how the pirate area is turning out. Like I say, I reckon there's probably about 3 or 4 episodes here before we move on to our fantasy area. But that doesn't mean that I'm rushing to get this finished. I'm spending a lot of time having a lot of fun putting together these cool sort of old pirate forts, and using the pieces. The sandstone building set is one of my favourites. I think it looks gorgeous. The textures are fantastic. It is actually quite limited in its pieces. There are a lot of pieces it doesn't have that other texture sets do have, such as the interior archways, a few other pieces off the top of my head I can't quite think, but there's a few times where I've looked for a piece and it just isn't there. So it is a little bit limited as a building set, but I love it. I just think it's so much fun to build with. It's really great textures. It all fits together really nicely. It's very easy to make these awesome sort of huge pirate forts really simply. So we're going back to the back of the Whirly gig now, and again, it's all a case of tying it in. Originally, I was planning on doing like an overhang thing with the go-karts, but I spent a little while off camera trying to figure it out, and I couldn't really get anything I was happy with. So we actually go back into the go-karts and edit the track a little, so it just comes down the side of this big wall here. So we will end up doing a bit of work with the wall to make it a bit more interesting to look at while you're on the go-karts. This isn't a finished area. Like I say, we pretty much finish it from the front of the 2 Whirly gig rides, but there still needs to be a lot of work done on top of this, stuff you can see while you're on the train track. The idea is that this building is actually part of sort of 2 or 3 rides now. The Whirly gigs around the front, the go-karts around the back, the train track on top of it. So every angle you look at it, it has to look good and there has to be stuff going on. This isn't a case of building a big green box at the back of it. This has got to be something that sort of works really well from pretty much any angle you can look at it from. So we finish out here. This is where I kind of figure out that I'm going to have to adjust the go-kart track. So we fill in what we can and then go in. It takes me a little while to get it looking decent and making it look basically so it doesn't look like it's been squashed. We have to move our jaws a little there. We're going to need a bigger boat. There we go, but it ends up turning up to be quite nice in the end. It ends up being quite smoothed out, and it kind of looks like it's always meant to be like that, But again, at the moment, like I say, that's quite a boring wall there. There's not really much to look at. We will go back and do a bit of work on that, maybe have some overhanging ropes and things like that, make it a bit more interesting. Maybe even look at putting a trellis over the top of it. There aren't many... In fact, I don't think there are any real archways on the go-karts, apart from the big tyre arch at the beginning. So yeah, maybe a trellised area might look quite nice there, actually. I'll try and remember that for the next one. So here we go, filling in the curved wall. The one problem with the sandstone flooring there is because it's obviously bordered, so it's quite difficult to do this sort of stuff and make it look good. So it's a case of, what I've actually done there is raise a little up, so as we can have walls on the other side of it and bring it down. And then I've got this sort of weird hole here that's quite difficult to do anything with, so I just stuck a building on top of it. I thought it was easy enough to do, and again, it's just a reason. It just makes it look like it's meant to be there. Then structurally very unsound. This would never be built in real life, but Well, it'd be built in a theme park because it'd just be all made out of styrofoam and plasterboard and things, but if they're actually building this out of stone, it would never stand up. But again, it just gives a nice variation with height. It gives something for the train to look at as it goes past, and it gives quite a nice eye line, actually. Like I say, unfortunately, it does start to bury the weenie a little bit behind it. If I could plan the area out a little bit more, like I say, I would maybe go a little bit bigger with that weenie on the log flume. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turns out. I have to do a little bit of a bodge there because this is actually 2 or 3 buildings all sort of sat next to each other. But I do think it's important to get this sort of I don't know what you call it really. I'm not up on me castle terminology, but that sort of turreted, I don't know, the sort of uppy-downy bit on top of a wall. There you go, there's a technical term, the uppy-downy bit. I do think it's important to get it on there, really sort of caps off the building quite nicely. Just having a look around there, just having a look at my eye lines, making sure it all looks pretty good, and then I come back to sort of finish off the Flotsam and Jetsam area. So using this great wooden, I really love this pirate fence, these wooden logs. I think they're great, they're nice and small. One thing I will say about a lot of the Planet Coaster scenery, it's really large. It's really on the large side. These wooden fences are one of the nicer, smaller pieces, and you can do quite a bit with them, and they will fit into quite a bit of space for that. There's a lot of these small shapes here, these small sort of grass shapes that I'm filling in. You wouldn't be able to do that with a lot of the fences because they're just too big. Sorry, I knocked the microphone there. If it's made a noise, I do apologise. So, not much to say here, unfortunately. There is just a fence being put in, and I had to have a little think for a while as to whether or not I wanted to decorate this piracy, because this is the sort of exterior path, you know, this is just the regular path that people will be walking down, whether they're going into the pirate area or not. But I kind of decided that the western area is very much closed off. It's a big archway that you walk through to turn up into the western area. With the pirates area, I wanted to try something a little bit different and have it sort of a bit more organic. You know, there's still areas you enter. Obviously, there's one, and then on the other side there's one as well. But here we've got the train station and the 2 Whirly gig rides, sort of on the exterior of the area, really. So it was because of that I decided to make the fence match up as well. Bit of a space there. I thought a water feature might work out quite nicely, and so we just played quite a simple thing, carrying on the sort of Flotsam and Jetsam theme, having it all sort of smashed up and bent over and a bit rickety. Nothing too astonishing really, just sort of a nice way to fill in that space pretty easily. And then we go back and do a bit of foliage. I'd considered having a ship there, just doesn't fit, so instead we stick a bit of the shipwreck. One of the most usable pirate pieces, I really think, those shipwrecks. Between the 3 pieces, you could do so much with them. We've made complete boats, we've made a boat being built, we've made shops with them, we've made archways with them. We made shipwrecks. There's so much you can do with them. They're really great pieces. One of my favourite pirate pieces to work with. So again, just sort of finishing off the back areas of the wall there with some of the boarded up windows, I think they're called, something like that, shutter windows or something, and a bit of driftwood over them. Again, this whole idea of Flotsam, Jetsam, sort of, you know, battered old stuff, and just sort of the idea of having bits everywhere, really. I googled Flotsam and Jetsam just to double check I was using the right words and to make sure it all looked okay, and there's a few bars that come up that are really heavily themed around it, and there's bits hanging off, and the chairs are all made out of wicker old buckets and things like that. So it gave me a lot. It didn't really take any much specific influence from them, just the idea that stick as much stuff as everywhere and it looks pretty good was kind of the idea with them. One thing I don't do in this video is do the interior of the queues there, because it's going to be quite a big job, because as you can see probably from the shape of the building, the inside of it looks an absolute mess. To make it look half decent on the outside, the inside looks an absolute mess. So what I'll probably end up doing is just building a fake interior wall, probably keep it quite small, just have a sort of a corridor basically that you queue through with a few lights. So I may even do that off camera, because I don't think it's going to be very interesting to watch at all. Finish off this area here with one of the cool sort of pirate campsites and a bit of foliage. And then we finish off with a bit of terrain work. And wasn't quite a fan of that door. It didn't feel like it fit. It's obviously squished into the floor a little because of what we had to do with the train. But I thought it might be better to find a bit more of a battered door and again sort of board it up with some logs. And finish off with a palm there. Palms laid down give you a great lighter colour that you don't get from the 2 or 3 palms that are actually built to be smaller. So it's one thing that I'm really happy you can do. A few bits of scenery up the top here again, just to sort of cap it off, make a nice eyesight level, give you something to look at while you're entering the queue. I was actually, my wife was sitting with me while I did this little bit, so occasionally I'll cut away and show something. It's really because I'm just sort of showing her little bits that I've been working on. She does show an interest, bless her. She's not really massively into the whole YouTube video thing yet, but she's really trying to show an interest, so she will come and sort of have a look what I'm doing occasionally. We do a little bit of work on lighting here, nothing too major. Again, I think I need to go back over once the whole area is finished and light it up with some hidden lighting, but we do some P lighting here, do a bit of permanent lighting with these awesome lanterns, just to sort of carry them round the front of the rides. And it didn't quite reach, so I stuck a sword in the wall and tied it to the handle of the sword. I felt like that was something piratey, and Flotsam and Jetsam would fit, little details. Rather than sort of moving everything over, I just thought, let's do that. Let's just stick a sword in the wall and tie it to the sword. I think it turned out quite nice. Just little moments that eventually when we have a good look around the park at the end of the series, it's going to be little things like that I'm going to look back at and go, oh yeah, that was quite a good little idea. Here again, just using a lot of the barrels. We overuse those barrels, but I don't think it looks like they're overused. Just by giving them different sorts of placements, putting a few together, putting one on each side, putting a couple together, putting some small ones and big ones. I actually think it works quite well. Here we go. We're going to cut to night time now. Just do a little bit of work with some P lighting. Again, we might have to go back and light up the planting a little bit more and the top of the area a little bit more. There I noticed we've got a big gap that we haven't filled in, so we're going to put a chucked over cannon, and I try and put a few other bits. It doesn't really fit, so we just leave it at that. And again, this is the wife's idea. I said maybe try and make it look a little bit grown in, so that's what we do. We had some lilies there to make it look a little bit unkept and uncared for. And then it's just a case of lighting up the things. We called it Captain Cook's Flotsam and Jetsam. So thank you very much for the suggestion. Really great name. It looks like it says Captain Hook, but it doesn't. It says Captain Cook. Just I thought it was kooky and a little bit kiddie. Like I say, we've toned the ride down a lot from the kiddiness and bright colours it was originally, but it is still a kiddie ride at the end of the day. The whole idea of 2 of them, a couple of people have asked in the comments. It's purely a throughput thing. Disney does it quite a bit. Universal does it quite a bit. If you just can't get the people on the ride, build 2 of the rides and just have them next to each other. So here it's just a throughput thing because it only seats about 12 people a go or something ridiculous like that. So just gets a few more people on it. There we go. A couple of glamour shots for you, and we'll finish off with an overview of the park. And it's coming up, I think. Yep, there we go. So you can really see the area is filling out. There's a little bit of green just behind that area we worked on there into the water. That'll probably just get filled with foliage. And obviously that larger green area, I'm still looking for suggestions there, what ride we can put in. And obviously at the back there, we're going to have our 2 dueling coasters. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries, or suggestions, pop them down in the comments. And if you fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Jonty Sparrow. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.